So it appears that Enlisted is dropping us a few leaks here and there, and some of these are actually pretty interesting, and some of these I'm gonna be listing off include, but are certainly not limited to, adding China into the game, which is huge, adding new tanks for the Japanese, which is what the Enlisted should do right now, and potentially adding tanks like the IS-3. Yes, you heard me correct, potentially adding tanks like the IS-3. So without further ado, let's get started. Of course, this video has been made possible for the friends at Discord because, well, they leaked everything, so that's great. And without further ado, let's just get started because I'm pretty sure you guys are more excited than I am. And starting up, we have China. Now, essentially what they have for China is a few voice lines in theory, and I do not think they have anything that is essentially massive for China. I do think they essentially do have, like, voice lines, and besides that, that's it, so that's great. But the fact that they're even adding voice lines is potentially planning to add China down in the future, or, most likely, they're planning to add a few squads for China, and that's it. Of course, I do think they're missing a big opportunity if they're just going to be adding 1 or 2 premium squads, because I think that's pretty dumb on their part, so that's my opinion. That said, something that are concerned, and that things that are interesting, is the cuss words that Enlisted will be implementing. I kid you not. Enlisted is planning to add quote-unquote bad language into these squads. These include dirty words for the United States, Japan, and Russia. And as of right now, I've yet to see anything for the Germans, and of course, I mean as of right now. So that's great. On the other hand, we do have something big, and that is the Chiri, and this is essentially a Japanese tank with a 37-meter Type 94 APHE round. This is a pretty interesting tank, mostly because 2 guns, one being a 75 in the turret, and one being a 37 in the hull, which is great if you ask me. On the other hand, the 75mm gun also does come with an autoloader, so that's very interesting and very unique for the tank itself. And that said, this is a lot of interesting stuff for a tank, being the Chiri. That said, let's move on to the IS-3. Now, this is pretty much not confirmed because it does say with only the smoke barrel launchers, which is great if you ask me. But the fact that once again they're putting in the IS-3 for smoke barrel launchers is pretty interesting. And without further ado, another thing that I forgot to mention for China is that they're going to be using the properties of a USA soldier, but using Chinese sounds. So essentially, they're going to be using the equipment of an American soldier, or, well, equipment of, let's just say, some uniforms of the Americans with Chinese voice lines, which is great, because if you haven't noticed, in Enlisted, there are essentially some, well, Chinese-looking soldiers. Not trying to be racist here. That said, it is interesting to note of that, so that's great. And that's it. That is all it for this video. There is a lot of new stuff with Enlisted essentially being leaked. And if you haven't liked, subscribed, or joined the Discord, I highly suggest that you do, because that's the only place in which you can get leaks ahead of time, apparently. So that's great. That said, I'll see you in the next one.